If you want to learn how to confidently charge what you're worth, then watch this video today. As business owners, one of the things that is infrequently done is raising our prices. And there was a study that I saw, approximately 70% of all business owners out here undervalue their value. They underprice their value. They're not charging enough. So to confidently be able to charge what you're worth, you first have to understand where you're at. Now, there's a formula for pricing. It can cover all expenses. It can cover a profit percentage at the end of each sale. But what you get paid is part in the time that we put in. We have to factor that. But there's also a value factor that we have to create. And so a lot of people get stuck in staying at a really low price and just settling with whatever it is. And so one of the first things that I do when I work with people is I focus on the pricing. And part of the reason is because if you feel that you can afford your growth, then you embrace growth. And what happens is it makes life easier, and you usually increase your income, your sales. Life becomes much easier to run a business. You can be the leader that you dream of being or that you want to be. But back to being able to price confidently. The first thing that we need to do is we need to overcome um, the value to cost ratio. So we have certain cost, and then we have a value that we provide. Now we can go with competitive pricing on this as a starting point. So if your competition charges a certain amount of money, you can factor out, take out all the expenses, and then whatever is left minus a profit is what they're usually making as an owner. But that's not a formula to follow exactly, because if 70% or more are not charging enough, you don't want to follow that template. So what you do is you get all your pricing together, you figure out what are all your expenses, right? Not your pricing, but your expenses. Get all your expenses together. Figure out the percentage of profit you want to charge. And then what's the gap in between is what you want to make. So let's just say, for an example, it's minimum $100 an hour. So could you honestly answer this question? Are you worth $100 an hour? And don't just say yes, because that's the knee-jerk answer. Of course I am. But deep down, only us can answer that deep down answer. Do we really feel that we're worth that amount of money? Now, $100 an hour is probably not where I'm going to tell you to be. It's going to be higher. But let's start at that. Do you honestly believe, right? Not say, do you believe that you're worth that amount of money? And then you have to have an understanding that if you charge $100 an hour, you're not making $100 an hour. So let's remember that. Back to the value to cost ratio. The way that you can increase your prices, get paid what you're worth, and keep the clients that you have is you have to advance the value to cost ratio. When we buy something, there's a cost associated with it, and we logically factor that cost. We say, hey, it's this much money. Is our value thermometer close to this level? It has to be at least here or here. It has to be above, or we're not going to buy it. So if you have the money, you will buy a Mercedes, no problem. But if you don't have the money, the value to cost ratio, the cost, the value is here. Even though we desire it, we love it, but the value that we perceive it at, what we do is we settle and we'd say, oh, this car here, which is $100,000 less, is good enough, right? That's what we do with our pricing. Oh, it's close. I know if I just sell more, I'm doing enough. It doesn't work that way, because if business slows down, then we get into a jam really quick because we're not charging enough. And you have to always pay expenses. If you don't pay the program, let's say Zoom, if you don't pay Zoom, they're going to shut you off. If you don't pay an employee or a virtual employee, they're not coming back next week. So we have to cover our expenses first. We're the last ones to get paid, but we should pay ourselves first. And that's another video that I'll do, but that means that you factor in your cost, what you're going to make into your pricing. You never wait until the end to see if there's anything left. In order for us to rise the value proposition versus the cost to a client is in the level of service that we provide and how frequently we remind them and what way we remind them of the value that they're being given. In a service providing business, like a coach, a consultant, a trainer, or something like that, there's not enough conversation or emails or messages that go out that remind the client what they're getting, how they've grown, what they've been able to attain, achieve, the results that they're getting. There's not enough of that goes on. That's a way to raise the value thermometer up so that when the next year comes, let's say you have a year contract, and you say, hey, I know my price was $1,000, but now it's going to be $1,250. If you haven't raised that value thermometer up, it's an expense. It's not an asset. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're focusing on providing the value and making sure that the customer understands that value after you've understood, hear, and believe that you're worth what you're saying you charge. Before I go any further, make sure that you like this video, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I'm always looking for new subscribers just because the message needs to get out there. There's a lot of misinformation or disinformation, especially on pricing and how to grow a business and how to grow your revenues to be able to afford your growth. Now, the next thing I wanted to cover is you can be stuck in a rut because you haven't raised your prices. Another study I saw, there was 65% of business owners that have 20 employees or less have not raised their prices since 2020. 65%. Now let me ask you a question. Have eggs gone up? Has gas prices risen? Has rent gone up? Has insurance gone up? Has the cost of goods gone up? Everything has gone up except what you're charging. So just realize customers will accept a reasonable increase. They don't have to like it. They have to understand and accept it. And the way that we help them transition into that is, again, we go into the value cost parameter and we make sure that their perceived value is higher than their perceived cost or expense of it. So in a lot of businesses, service-based businesses, you're providing something that brings back some form of ROI, either in the form of free time so that they can do more, they can expand more, they can grow more, they can just take time off, which is worth something. So remember the service that you provide and make sure that you're getting back to the customer to let them know. And if you know that you're in a rut and you haven't raised prices, people will understand it. The other thing is people want to charge more, but they get into this fear. The fear that they might lose something. And there comes a point in our growth where we have to own our stuff. We have to say, you know what? I'm worth this. And it's okay if you don't believe it. I'm going to do everything to show up, to share with you the confidence, to share with you the belief, to share with you the proven strategies and steps. And then I'm owning it. And the one thing about it is, think about this. If you were going to buy a service, who do you want to work with? Somebody that's a little bit weak, that hasn't done anything, that's stuck in a rut, that's afraid to charge more money because they might lose something, or someone who's willing to risk it all and claim it because they're confident, they know it, and they know that their stuff works, and they're going to let you know about it without being overly arrogant. It's borderline, but you have to own your stuff and stand in your power. You have to get passionate about what you do and passionate about the ability that you have to be able to help people and move themselves forward. When you can own that and you can be willing to walk away as fast as you're willing to walk into a relationship, then you'll start getting an understanding of people that want to work with someone like that. Who do you want to work with? Someone that has results, that's confident, that's proven, that's willing to say, hey, it's okay if you don't want to come with me. I want to work with people that are ready to do something now. And if you're one of those people that aren't, here's my free stuff, or here's somebody else I recommend you go to. People will always honor and respect that. And that's what you're looking for. People want to raise their status. They want to raise the level that they're at. And you have to show them and prove to them that you can raise their status. And part of it is showing up like you. They want to be like us to a certain degree, at least some of our traits. These are the things that you can do to be able to raise your prices up, to be able to raise the value of the perception of what you offer and not lose clients in the process. Every decision leads to something. I'm going to leave you with this one, is make a firm decision to step into your value, to know what you're worth, and figure out your charges and what you need to charge and how many people you need to work with so that you can stand in your power and claim your pricing that pays you what you're worth, that covers all your expenses, and it adds a profit at the end of it. And anytime you need to raise your prices because you've advanced your business, you've enhanced your business, or things have changed for the better, people will follow you. Thank you so much.